Welcome to From the Den podcast, providing Bears and NFL fans alike with compelling news, discussion, and debate. I'm your co-host Benjamin, joined alongside my dear friend and co-host Oren.
Hey Benjamin, let's get right into it. As always, kickoff starts now.
All right, so what position do you think regressed the most from 2018 to 2019?
So going back to my excellent quote from Ryan Pace, where it says, Matt talks all the time about the importance of the tight end position to our offense. I think that the position that regressed the most is tight end. If you look at it, like I said earlier, you look at Andy Reid's offense. They have Travis Kelce. You look at Philadelphia's offense. They don't only have Zach Ertz, they have Dallas Goedert. They drafted a second-round tight end behind Zach Ertz, which shows the importance of tight end. And the Bears, I think the Bears have the most tight ends in the NFL. They spent the most money on tight ends in the NFL this offseason.
I mean,
and even when you take out,
sorry, I'll let you go and then I'll say my point.
Even when you take out the Jimmy Graham signing, they were still top 5 or top 10 in amount of money paid for tight ends. Obviously, Matt Nagy cares about this position. Also, the Bears are rumored to really like Bryson Hopkins, tight end, in the draft. And if they spend he's supposed to go second or third round. Maybe they trade down in the third round to get him, or maybe they pick him in the second round. But they have a solid amount of holes that they need to fill. And if the Bears are willing to draft another tight end on top of having Trey Burton, Adam Shaheen, who's not great, but he's still there, having Jimmy Graham, then it really shows the importance of the position.
Do you see some kind of a parallel between what Nagy did in 2018 or the 2009, like before the season in 2019 with all the kickers, and what he's doing now with signing all these tight ends to just try to find that one good tight end like he did with finding Pinheiro?
I think there is a difference. I think that's a good question, but the difference is that tight end, especially for the Bears spent a lot of money on Trey Burton. They weren't going to release him because they would only save $1 million, and he's worth more than $1 million. They signed Jimmy Graham, which, by the way, was a very bad signing, but at least the way they structured it is that they can release him next year and get $6 million back. So at least they have that. But I think what they want to do is you're right that they're looking for the guy, but they're looking for a guy to be behind Jimmy Graham and behind Trey Burton. They're not looking for one guy to step in and be the Zach Ertz of the offense or be the Travis Kelce. They're looking for a guy to complement Jimmy Graham's great red zone threat and Trey Burton's. He's a good receiver and Trey Burton's receiving ability. And maybe they're looking for a blocking tight end because they signed Demetrius Harris as a good blocking tight end. But when you go into the stats, you look at 2019, what I said earlier, J.P. Holtz led the Bears with 91 yards, which is 68th in the NFL. And in 2018, Trey Burton had 569 yards. That's almost 480 yards more in 1 year than the other.
Okay, but if I'm being honest, 500, what did you say, 569?
569 yards?
Yeah, that is still, I mean, it's not like, it's certainly a lot better than what J.P. Holtz had in 2019, but still that's no like elite tight end status. But granted, there aren't many tight ends in the NFL who can put up 800 to 1,000 yards. So I will give you that.
You're right, but the Bears signed Trey Burton, I wouldn't say to elite money, but they signed him to a big contract, and they expected him to do well. In the first year, he did well. They might have given him a bit too much money, but I'll take 569 yards because what that did is when they have the tight end position open, it opens up the whole offense.
All right.
Sustainable tight end, that opens up the whole offense. In 2019, Trey Burton, who I think played 7 or 8 games, played like half of the snaps in those games, led the Bears in receptions with 14 receptions, which is 53rd in the NFL. But in 2018, Trey Burton had 54 receptions, which is 10th in the NFL. All the Bears tight ends in 2019 had 27 total receptions. It were 27th in total receptions with 46. But in 2018, they were 21st in total receptions with 64. In 2019, the Bears tight ends were 31st in yards with 416, but 10th in the NFL for total yards with 668 in 2018. In 2019, the Bears were 31st in total touchdowns with 2. 2018, they were 10th in total touchdowns with 7. which also goes to the fact that they signed Jimmy Graham, because Jimmy Graham may be old, he may not be great, but he is a red zone threat. He's big. He caught the
To
only
be honest, Jimmy Graham, for all the talk of Jimmy Graham being a red zone threat with Aaron Rodgers last year or for over the past few years, he really didn't do that much. I don't have the exact number on me, unfortunately, but he really did not score that many touchdowns. So I don't know if I have faith that Mitchell Trubisky will be able to produce either. But that's fine. That's fine. I understand what you're saying, where you're coming from. But in my opinion, and we've already brushed over the offensive line, so I'm just going to do this one a little quicker. But I think that the offensive line was a position that regressed the most because in 2018, I think the offensive line was more of a strength that the Bears had in 2018 than the tight end position. The Bears really, I never had anything to say about, never had a complaint about the Bears offensive line in 2018. They still had some tight end, Adam Shaheen was still kind of trashed in 2018. So I'm saying in 2018, offensive line was more of a complete position than the tight end position, and that is why I believe that the regression was much bigger. And this wasn't a part of the question, but I believe it had a much bigger impact in 2019. So
I agree with you. I think the offensive line was a very, very, very big thing for the Bears, that they really regressed because, like I said earlier, it really just – the offensive line, if you really look at it, that's what wins games. Yeah. Good offensive lines win games. If you look at most years, in 2006, when the Bears made the run to the Super Bowl, they had a good offensive line. In 85, the Bears had great offensive line. Mm-hmm. Good teams always have good offensive lines. It's very hard to find a really, really, really good team with a bad offensive line.
Well, whatever. I won't even get into that, but that's fine.
If you enjoyed this episode of From the Den, please remember to subscribe, comment, and like this video.
Or, if you're a Packers fan, remember to dislike and leave a nasty comment. Click the links on the screen to access additional content.